In a somewhat failed attempt to get more followers on Instagram, I recently made this piece. Pac-Man was such a big deal in the 80s that different kinds of merchandise were made, including pajamas, dinnerware, lunchboxes, and a whole lot of other things. It even spawned a song called Pac-Man Fever. In this episode of Gaming Origins, we'll learn a little more about our beloved dot-eating yellow hero. In the late 70s and early 80s, Space Invaders was the most popular video game in Japan. The next big hit was PACMAN, or Pac-Man. Pac-Man was created by a guy named Toru Iwatani, who questioned that Space Invaders may have been too difficult or unappealing to women. He sought to make a new game geared towards women and couples in mind by focusing on 3 points. 1. Use a 4-directional joystick opposed to buttons. 2. In order to not prolong the tension of the game, a cutscene or coffee break will be used. Three, the monsters should be colorful and eye-catching. Onaka suita. もう集中できない。主人公は何の形がいい？これかな？ダメ。あ、ピザ来た。おいしそう。これ And this is how Pac-Man got his shape. Pac-Man got his name from the onomatopoeia paku paku, which describes a mouth opening and closing. The sound when Pac-Man eats dots could very well be a digitized sound of paku paku paku. Writing from Japanese to English, or vice versa, can be quite confusing at times. The original name, PACMAN, if written in Roman letters, would be PACKUMAN. The double K and the U probably wouldn't have looked good on arcade cabinets, so Bally Midway thought to go with a word that looked more like how it sounds. PACMAN. Nice! Pac-Man also starts off in the shape of a hockey puck. So, good idea, right?
Wrong.
Bally Midway was pretty clever to see that one coming, and changed it to what we know now. Pac-Man. I mentioned earlier that Iwatani wanted to make the monsters colorful and eye-catching. He also thought of the idea to give them different personalities. When he first explained this notion to his higher-ups at Namco, they rejected it and told him to give them the same personalities. Lucky for them, Iwatani was stubborn and stuck with his gut. Can you imagine how easy and boring Pac-Man would be if he listened to them? Now, let's talk about the monsters. Yes, monsters. In Japan, they're referred to as monster or monster. According to the website pacmanmuseum.com, the term ghost came from the poorly made Atari 2600 version of Pac-Man, where the monsters would flicker due to technical limitations. There are minor differences between the US and Japan versions, but only with names and character traits.
What's the difference?
In the US, we know them as Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde. But their original names are Akabe, Pinky, Aosuke, and Guzuta. Pinky being the only one who keeps his name. Aka meaning red, pink is self-explanatory, Ao meaning blue, and Guzuta comes from guzu, meaning indecisive person. First, let's talk about Akabe. This is a theory of mine, but Akabe could be a shout-out to a famous late 16th century toy of Japan, Akabeko, also known as Akabe. Next, there's Pinky. He's pink. Then there's Aosuke. The S-U-K-E in Aosuke is used for names of men. For example, Sasuke from Naruto, or the pitcher Daisuke Matsuzaka. Last, there's Guzuta, whose name has nothing to do with his color, but his character trait as explained earlier. Speaking of character traits, let's move on to that. In the US version, the character traits are shadow, speedy, bashful, and pokey. In Japan, they are oikake, machibuse, kimagure, and otoboke. Oikake means chase, and Blinky is always on PACMAN, like a shadow. You see what they did there? Machibuse means ambush. I don't get why the people at Bally Midway went with speedy when all the ghosts move at the same speed. Kimagure means unpredictable. I'm not sure if being bashful has anything to do with being unpredictable. Otoboke comes from the word tobokeru, meaning to play dumb. Don't be fooled by thinking Clyde is just going through the motions in the maze. He's watching you. They should have named him Slick Motherfucker, but instead they went with Pokey. Pokey? So there you have it. Some gaming origins of the famous groundbreaking game. The next time you play Pac-Man, remember that he's a dot-eating pizza who gets chased around by 4 eye-catching monsters, all of them created to attract the ladies. Thanks for watching.